Well, hello there. How are we all on this Thursday afternoon? Thank you for joining us. I am here with two amazing humans. I'm here with Neil Cobbold, who is Commercial Director for Repit. And I'm also here with David Adams, who's Director of Cavendish Rentals and Sales, I believe, with multiple branches that do both of that. And we're here to talk about that topic that bamboozles every letting agent and estate agent on a daily basis. What tech should we use to grow? What tech should we use to optimize our time? What tech can get stuff off our desk and make life easier for us? And I thought nobody better than to ask Neil Cobbold. He's my partner in crime on many a panel talking around tech. He really does know the ins and outs of everything. And I know David Adam utilizes every bit of tech he possibly can in his business too. So I thought two absolutely awesome humans to come and join us on this chat today around what tech can we use to optimize and to squeeze the juice out of our time and make life a lot easier so we can focus on those key things like making more money, generating more sales, serving customers and all that sort of stuff. So Neil and Adam, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you for inviting me, Sally.
You're welcome. So I know, Neil, tech is a thing that you could talk about probably until the end of the week, which isn't that long, but at least another 24 hours. So what does tech mean to you? Because you've made a life out of this, haven't you? This has been your lifeblood for so long. What would you say tech is to you?
Tech is something that takes the processes that we do and removes the burden and admin and makes it easier for us to both concentrate and do more with the limited resource that we have, which are the people behind the profession that have all the expertise that are able to then make that tech work correctly. Tech in of itself doesn't provide a service, it's a facilitator. And that's often, I think, the misinterpretation. I started up as an agent before tech. So I had everything in my books and I loved it at that. And I never thought I would be a tech evangelist. If you'd have wound back to then, I'd have called you all the names under the sun and probably said I'll steer clear. But I think what's kind of changed across that is the amount that we now need to do in that service. We're no longer just transactional as we were like 20, 30 years ago, the transaction of the sale or the let. We are so many more things. And to be able to do those properly and correctly, we need tech to support and facilitate us. I think the difficulty I've found also being in it is quite often tech purports to be the next thing that can change your world and the way that you do it. And I'm sure David will be there. That's not what I wanted from tech. I'm quite happy with what I do and the services that I provide. That's the uniqueness of what we have in the market. Don't take that away. What I want you to do is take what I do and show me how I can do more of it and utilize more of what's special about me, which is me and the people who work for me, by using your tech. But don't tell me, oh, I can be great. Just change everything about you and you can use our next piece of tech in your business. And I think I've found that quite difficult for some tech businesses to realize we don't need them to reinvent the wheel. We're just a little help getting that wheel going faster.
That's a great point. And I know that from my experience as an estate agency, stroke letting agency, that when someone gives you a new piece of tech, the initial feeling is like, oh, you've got to learn this new bit of tech. It's got all these buttons and things to press and it's confusing. David, I know you've implemented so much in your business. How have you felt with the tech and how have you got that through, got the team on board, made everybody focus on getting those things in play? How do you cross that bridge?
It's been tricky, if I'm honest. Not everyone. I think that there's a lot of technophobes, I think, in our industry. And I think a lot of people see perhaps technology and AI perhaps as a threat to quite a lot of our jobs. But I think I've heard this quite a lot recently. A lot of people saying that like tech should enable us to do more of what we're good at. Mm-hmm. So certainly what's helped reframe tech in our business is that we use tech to do the jobs that we don't want to do to start off with, and the jobs that don't actually earn us the big money. So we automate quite a lot of things now. We call them the £10 an hour tasks, basically. Mm-hmm. So any sort of low level admin, we either automate or we use a VA, or we use AI for, and it just means we can spend more time doing the things that will make us money, make our team more money as well. So it's been a difficult process, if I'm honest, but we're at a point now where we love tech and we're all over it, to be honest. So bring it on. We want more.
Well, we heard it here first, Neil. So from your perspective, you must have spoken to lots of, probably thousands of letting agents and estate agents talking about new systems, putting them into their businesses. What do you find is the thing that gets them over the edge, that makes them realize they need it? What would you say is the big thing?
So often it's, and I hear that from David saying it, he's looked at his tasks and he's found the tech to perform those tasks. And I think that's what I've found with estate agencies who adopt. We don't want the tech coming in and telling us how we need to change our business. What we actually look for is agents who understand what they want the tech to be able to do for them, and then find the best in sector tech to provide that. If you try and do it the other way around, that all that tech looks like it does well, I'm not sure how we transform what we do to bring that into our business, then you end up with a lot of friction with members of staff, as you say, that fear of the unknown. But it's not just the fear of the unknown, it's the fear of how that changes. They're not also sat there thinking, do you know what, I want somebody to change my day-to-day job. Quite often they've got used to that day-to-day job, and they're now trying to balance the stress between doing it well for a higher number of people versus completely having to learn a new way of doing it. Areas each other. So the businesses that find out, okay, what can I take away from you so that the stakeholders understand this is how your job will improve, this is how your service to clients will improve, then bring the tech in, find far less resistance. And getting them to understand that, I think, is the biggest thing, rather than, and I know we're time poor in this industry, expecting a tech person who may be a little bit biased about their product to come in honestly and review your business and processes and tell you, yes, this is going to meet your next need, is perhaps a little bit wishful thinking in that process. I think agents that come in forewarned, forearmed, and with a clear vision often get the best out of the tech that they bring into their business.
It's a great point. And I think one of the things that I've always embraced tech and outsourcing as well, and getting stuff off your desk, because I believe the true value in embracing tech or VAs or outsourcing, whatever it is that you're talking about, getting stuff off your desk, is actually the value that you can add by doing the thing that you're actually really good at, which is serving the customers, looking for more clients, doing JVs, whatever that thing is. Your value's there. It's not doing the admin, the paperwork, or those sort of bits there. So David, talk to me through, in your business, what's been, and we're going to go diving into shortly, guys, those of you watching, into what piece of kit people use, but what has been the value to you of embracing that tech, as in what else have you been able to do because you're not doing that?
Yeah, so so first of all, we use VAs in our tenancy management department, and that was a big thing for us. And what I didn't realise is that actually quite a lot of additional revenue can be made by your tenancy managers, who I know are always perceived as, the people just firefighting. So that's been revolutionary for us. And we've done a lot of training with our tenancy managers to look for opportunities where they can upsell to existing landlords, have time to have those conversations with landlords. I mean, we were very shocked to find, when we took the time to actually speak to our current landlords, how many of our current landlords had properties that we didn't manage. We had time to have a chat about their finance. I mean, there's a stat, nearly half of landlords at the moment are on standard variable rates for their mortgages. Mm-hmm. So we're able to have conversations about their finance and helping them acquire more properties. So just giving our team more time to speak to our landlords and look to opportunities has been great. And I mean, one of the other things we do is we don't have any incoming calls coming into our office from tenants. So we've got an automation there where tenants will fill out an online application form. The phone doesn't even ring. And I mean, we get hundreds and hundreds of phone calls a week that we don't get now, that we used to get about a year and a half ago. So there's so much time. I think that's one of our biggest commodities, time. So
there must be so many letting agents now really struggling with those thousands and thousands of calls coming through from from tenants. It must be a problem. And there's a simple piece of tech that can sort that for you. There's a company called Agent Response, a great company. They can get those calls out of your office. I don't know why everyone doesn't do it. So Neil, you used to be a letting agent. You're now a tech god in our industry. If you were back in agency, what is the one piece of kit you would refuse to do your job if you did not have? What piece of kit would you have? Which bit of tech? What's the most essential bit?
Well, I'm gonna sound really bad, because I think it is whatever you centrally, and I'm not necessarily purporting to our own, but your central system needs to be done and looked after wherever you are holding all of that central data. And I go into a lot of places and it is not looked after. It is not put loving arms around, but that data, that is the lifeblood of our businesses moving forward. If tech is going to be enabled behind a business, it can only do so with the right data to empower those workflows, automations, and the way they work. And that's really where people then need to be looking after what those people are doing within the business, because the richer your data, the more you know, the more conversations you have and capture that about your landlords, their positioning, the on-sell and what you can do with that, how tech can automate those communications, how you can be seen to be hyper-local and in touch becomes so much better. With poor data, tech is almost strangled as to what it can do. It can do the bare basics, but all of the enhancements that really drive the revenue, you will never tap into. So it'd be whatever you're using as your CRM, as your central data source. Understand that that is then the beating heart of what drives everything else, and look after that data.
Great point. So a core piece of CRM kit essential for every agency. It makes me smile when I hear this, because I can remember when everything was on paper and cards, and I can remember when we first went on our first CRM system. I think we used Aspasia as it was at the time, which is now called MRI. And I can remember thinking, Neil, that we were going to have so little to do after we went on this CRM, that life was going to be so simple after we went onto it. And I could not have been more wrong. We all of a sudden had like 100 more things to do, clicking and uploads and this and the other, but it was making us do the job properly. And that was the big change. This was 2002. It was a long time ago. It was making us do the job, and it was making us do the little things that we were missing. We just weren't doing efficiently.
What do you mean cutting the corners off of a little card wasn't quick enough to help you keep in touch with that
contact? It didn't refer people to financial services or anything. It didn't do that. And so I think the other thing with tech is that it makes you do stuff properly. So I'm going to pass over to David. Give me an example of how tech has really tightened up your processes, has made you find opportunities, has made you do things differently.
Yeah, I think that the main thing for us is the time thing again. It's just giving us more time to do those quality things. I mean, sort of using tech, like
do you use tech, David, for your AML procedures now and your checks?
Yes. So go back. I mean, we've been using that probably for about 2 or 3 years now. But I mean, I remember when I was a sales negotiator sort of 20 years ago, and we'd be filling out, the IVC form and etc.
Yeah.
And even sort of 3 years ago, our team would be filling out that form. They'd be, having a look at, the passport, filling out all the paperwork. Now we just outsource it. Someone else does it, and the amount of time that we save, it's like a whole month a year or something. I think we worked it out. It's just bonkers. Like a whole month. What would you do with an extra month?
And isn't it also, because when I used to sit and we used to do those forms, you're then relying on somebody to understand and to have checked that visa or that situation or where they're at, or to have made that assessment on that individual, and have they done the correct PEP and sanction checks. Now we've got tech to literally tick the boxes and tell us that's all done. The reliability of having to have an individual that takes up their time and space, and that isn't what, as Sally always says, that isn't what makes the money, but they were sat there worrying about it. And now tech takes that worry away. They can just go out and do more business. I love things like that. And the worst thing about it is, as I've seen over the last 20, 30 years, AML is only going one way.
Yeah.
So that
definitely.
We need tech. Otherwise, I'd hate to think if we were still doing it in a paper-based format in 10 years, it would probably be 2 months of a year you'd have still been losing, David.
What? Do you know what? So one of the more recent bits of tech that we've implemented is AI chat bot, and that's been revolutionary. I mean, we've only had it for a couple of weeks, but Previously, we've got sort of sales marketing funnels that come onto our database, and the team give the lead a call to see if they can help them, and that only happens during business hours, and sometimes the team are too busy to call the lead straight away, and etc. etc. So we've just implemented a new bit of tech, which is an AI bot that basically sends an SMS to the lead. So the second they fill out the form online, literally about 30 seconds later, they'll get an SMS saying, "Hey, it's Cavendish Rentals here. You just downloaded our form. How can we help you?" Basically, then they interact with the person, and if we can help them as a landlord, they then book into our calendar, for that same day or the next day. So we've had conversions that have happened, in the middle of the day. We've had ones that have happened at 10:30 at night when our offices are closed, and it's just great. Speed to lead is an amazing thing anyway, but it's just great to be able to be more accessible to people. So a landlord who's in trouble, they've got compliance issues, it's 10 o'clock at night, and they think, "Do you know what? I'm going to download this from Cavendish. Oh, someone's texting me. I can book an appointment for tomorrow morning." It's just really impressive, I think. So
it's amazing, isn't it? And I know that we've actually got a guy talking about that at Agent Rainmaker Live in a couple of weeks. So I'm really excited about that. He's going to be talking all about, call it Letty. Going to be talking about how you can actually get a chatbot to actually speak to your leads and actually get converted calls booked in your diary automatically, instantly, 24/7. Because we was having a chat last week, wasn't we, David? And whilst we were sitting there, a call was booked in your calendar. It's like, there's another one. It's just so exciting.
I think we worked out it literally cost about 4p, because the bot went back and forth a few times. It cost 4 pence to convert that lead into a scheduled call.
Now, how much would you have to pay a member of staff to sit there on a Sunday night at 10 o'clock?
Who's got those members of staff that will sit there at 10 o'clock on a Sunday night?
Well, it might even be illegal soon.
Yeah.
Oh, crazy. I think if I was a piece of kit, I think that's been really, really valuable now, I think has got to be a mention, is fixed flow. I think for maintenance, given that tenancy managers use like half of their time dealing with maintenance, that has got to be a mention. And it's in multiple languages, and everyone can log in. It just seems so efficient, really, to be 24/7 a piece of kit working for you. It's actually amazing. And outsourced tenancy management calls out of hours is another one as well. So many letting agents still walking around with mobile phones. That's just crazy. Do you outsource yours, David? Do you have someone outsourced, or how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so we've outsourced ours probably for about 15 years, but going back, pre 15 years ago, there were 2 or 3 people that took it in turns, and Sunday morning, they'd got a call, and it's just you can't switch off. It's not good. It's not good for your mental health, is it? So
you can't relax. You can't do nothing now.
And someone else new things that I've seen coming there as well, where we operate around the globe. It's interesting to see how some other sectors within it, because they have the same thing. They have a property, they have somebody who wants to be in a property and let it, and that property will have maintenance issues that needs to be done. But in the same way, I've seen fixed flow, when it came out, revolutionize that whole ticketing and choicing and informing tenants of what they needed to do, kind of changed the way the maintenance ticket. I've now seen people changing the way that the allocation works. So fine, you've got your own contractors, but you've got an emergency, literally can show you on a map where the nearest contractor, and you can draw onto them as a person, and it immediately puts it into their diary, into their schedule of works, and you can see what time they're then going to attend your job. I mean, it's phenomenal the way that they're taking this IoT and the way around buildings, that actually we can start utilizing these services far more efficiently. And I think it'll be a little while before we get a little bit more in the mainstream. But in the same way we've seen the balloon the moment AI came in the mainstream, the moment they give us more than that, we'll find a way to consume it.
It's crazy, isn't it? Absolutely crazy. I mean, I'm all for outsourcing. My branch, there's 6 staff, just under £1 million turnover, 6 staff. Everything is outsourced. So I love outsourcing. So let's talk about outsourcing for a minute. We outsource everything from property management, client accounting, the sales progression, anti-money laundering, fixed flow, the out of hours calls, the marketing, the ads. We use AI. Check-ins, checkouts, inventories, inspections, everything. Just everything. I'm literally, Ali just has to sit there and make money, bless him. So I mean, let's talk about that. He still moans about that. But I said, you should have come back 20 years ago and see what we had to do back then. But anyway, that's another story for another day, bless him. But let's talk about outsourcing. Neil, what do you think are some of the big wins for which absolutely essentials now for letting agents to get off their desks? They can focus on the key things.
Well, I think I mentioned it before. Anything that is a purely 100% admin task and doesn't rely on your relationship or experience with your end client has no need to be done in-house. And I think that's the test that you should be putting around your actions. If it involves you directly interacting with your clients, and that is both the buyer and the seller, and it is the tenant and the landlord. I know we don't like to think of it, but that we don't have anything without that tenant staying in our property. So we look after them like a client. If it touches those, then it should be you and your expertise for your relationship. If it purely is a back-end admin task, then for you to sit there and do that and not handle that relationship, it's almost mind-blowing as to why would you? Because if that's where your relationship, your experience, and your money is driven, why would you spend the time on the other? And it's also about getting the best resource. I could go out and read almost anything. I go into my doctor's, I see him using Google. And a lot of people will talk about that. Well, my doctor uses Google, but he uses it with the knowledge he has behind it. He doesn't use it in of itself. And that's how we should be outsourcing. We don't outsource in of itself. They are providing the admin and the task to go behind the knowledge that we've got, that we're then able to interpret that for our clients. But anything, I loved it's a £10 an hour task, David, and I've heard you say that before, Sally. If it's below a certain level, it should be outsourced. Yeah, get it out of there. And if it's something that actually sits and is completely detached from your front, as in whether it was done in-house or done through an outsourcing service, the experience of your end user would notice no difference. Then get it out of the business. Don't get it being done by often a far more expensive route, but it's the utilization of a resource for something that is not their best job, which is to bring in revenue and business, not to sit there doing admin tasks. I don't know a single person in lettings who said, I want to go in lettings because I really want to sit and fill in forms.
No, definitely not. I mean, one of the things that we're seeing now with so many letting agents and group of letting agents where they've got multiple branches or more than one branch is centralized tenancy management. I mean, that's the thing now. You know, the old days where you'd have the tenancy managers, the front end staff in that branch, and the tenancy manager, the front end staff in that branch, and the same in that branch. I think those days are gone. People are centralizing all of that now, and very much like the corporates, creating central hubs that can do all of those things, client accounting or tenancy management or compliance management or whatever, is centralizing those sort of things, which I think is really powerful because you get that shared resource. You only one really good manager that can manage all that team rather than 4 really good managers. You get consistency of service, all those sort of things, which is really important. And so really outsourcing can be the low-level £10 an hour task, but it can also be the more complex stuff, which is more difficult to train and to manage as well. So David, talk to me about what you outsource and what you find works really well for you.
Yeah, so first of all, on the low-level stuff, I say low level, we outsource the tenancy admin, we outsource inventories and check-ins as well, checkouts. We have viewing specialists for sales as well, so we don't do our own viewings anymore. AML, social media, but talking about higher level tasks. So we were really interested in getting into marketing and ads, etc. And I mean, I could spend 1 week, 2 weeks on YouTube learning how to do Facebook ads, but is that a good use of my time? So we have an ad company that runs all our ads, and they're awesome at it, because that's what they do. They're professionals. Whereas if I did that myself, I'd probably get our ad account closed down, realistically, and I probably wouldn't be getting the return on investment that we're getting at the moment.
One of the things we see quite a lot actually is because a lot of people don't really understand marketing and social media, is they're going to employ a youngster and they're going to get them to do the social media-y thingy. And I always smile at this. And I go, how are you going to manage this person? Because you obviously don't understand it yourself. Oh, no, well, they all know how to do it, don't they? Well, let me just put it straight out there. They don't. They really don't. And it's a great point.
They know how to consume it.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Thing.
What do you want me to post?
One of the things that, outsourcing social and the ads and whatever, absolutely great. One of the things we've done is I just want to use it as an example. Our YouTube channel, we had a choice of, I've got a media team, a techie team here, I had a choice of hiring someone to do that. Let's say it cost me 25 grand a year, whatever. Or I could go to the UK's leading expert in YouTube channel management. So I chose to go to the UK's leading expert in YouTube channel management. And for £800 a month, he spends a couple of hours in my YouTube channel. He achieves more in 2 hours for £800 a month than any youngster would do, because he has that high level experience. So I think it's not only low level, it's high level, and getting that expertise, like David says, it's just not worth our time. And even if we hire somebody, we still have to manage them. And if we don't understand that, then that's going to be a problem. So over to you, Neil. What do you think about outsourcing that you've seen worked really well for some agents that you know?
I've seen lots of outsourcing work really well. And I also have seen industries that have been required to be outsourced almost because of how they were adopted by the industry. David mentioned inventories and check-ins. I think that's one industry that we tried to handle in-house and proved how wrong it can be done. Different forms, different standards, different ways of working, bias when it came to the exit and the checkout in the way they were being interpreted. That actually the outsourcing brought an extra level of compliance, validity, and at the same time took quite an onerous admin task away and provided a streamlined service for it. I think I love the high level tasks. Often my worry with those is that we don't lose the hyper local. And I think the other thing that I have now is with the advent of AI, which I'm I read everything, I play around with AI. I do far too much with AI than I probably should because I'm fascinated by it. But I actually think it's doing the opposite as to what everybody is worried about. It's making us far more interested in the real experience. And we actually value the real interaction far more than we ever used to because of the advent of AI. So I love the centralization for tasks, but we can't lose that hyper-local personalized touch, because I think that's going to become even more valued, that actually dealing with a real person in a live environment who knows about the area where I operate in is going to become more value, because everybody through an AI is going to port that they know your area because they can consume all of this data and make it sound like I can tell you where your nearest school is and everything else because of data lakes. But the person who can actually translate into what that means for my family, that's where I'm going to be living in the real. And I think that's going to become more important for our agents to be that real person in that transaction. So all of this centralization, I think we're going to move all of these tasks, but we need to do it to enhance the real service that we offer, not just the digital.
It reminds me of a conversation I had with one of our agents when we were a franchise, and she was spending 7 hours on an inventory, and she would not outsource it because she said, no, I'm not paying £40 to get someone to do this inventory. And it was she was so detailed. It took her 7 hours, this inventory. And I said, I'm saying, what would you do? What could you do with those 7 hours? And exactly what you just said, Neil, she could work with the customers. She could help them. She could serve them. She could, call out. She could do all sorts of different things. But she didn't want to spend that £40. So she spent 7 hours on doing that inventory because in her mind, that was free. It didn't cost her anything. I said, that's just cost you 7 hours of customer interaction. That's just cost you 7 hours of sales generation. That's just cost you 7 hours of working on your business. That is worth so much more than £40 outsourcing it. So absolutely, you need to spend that time with the customer, not faffing around with Facebook and that sort of stuff. So over to David, is there anything you haven't outsourced yet that you're thinking about outsourcing? Have you pretty much outsourced everything that you can? Have you outsourced yourself? Is there an AI David coming? It's going to replace you? I'm waiting for that one.
Yeah, can you imagine? That'd be scary, wouldn't it? I can't. Do you know what? I know the other thing, and I'm not convinced on it yet. I don't think it's there yet, but there are. You can get you can replicate yourself by AI for video, can't you? So you can type.
Hey, Jen.
Yeah, Hey Jen, yeah.
So I've played with one called Hey Jen. I created myself as a complete avatar, and you can now put typed speech into it, and it apparently is me. It's a very posh version of me. I'll give you that. It doesn't sounds far too posh a version of me, but and use the mannerisms as if it's me saying it.
Yeah, I had
And you
one
can
where it
type
made me
anything
speak
into it.
made me speak Chinese the other day, and I saw myself going hi, 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 and I was like, oh wow, that's so cool. I can't speak Chinese, just for the record. Sorry, David.
Could that be the next thing? I mean, I can see that working very well. You know, when it's polished, and you know, like you said, Neil, doesn't make you sound too posh or Sally Chinese. Then I could see that being a great tool. Although, again, sort of, you almost miss the human interaction. I mean, for example, I'm talking about time. So every quarter, I go live and do a webinar to our local landlords, and we usually get around 100 attendees. What's a better use of my time to go live to 100 landlords in 1 hour, or faff about trying to learn how to do Facebook video, ads? It's what could you do with that time? But coming back to your question, what else could we outsource? I don't think there's anything left, to be honest. I mean, we've got no team left because it's all outsourced and automated.
When you get to that point and you go, what is it that I do again?
Yeah, right.
I think the next things to automate or to look at should be to deal with the opportunities we've got on the horizon. And I do think they are opportunities. There's things happening with the Renters' Rights Bill, and there's always going to be legislative changes. If we think about where we were to 30 years ago to today, you'd have never seen it come here. It's not going to stop. And I had somebody say, you either thrive and survive or wail and fail. And we do have a bit of a bad reputation of saying the woe is me and not seeing the opportunities to actually provide that personal service, that when these change, they change for all of our landlords. And if we think it's daunting for us, for somebody who sits there with a property not following this and doesn't understand what it means to them, we're the conduit to make that real. And that's the opportunity, again, to be that person in that interaction, to almost put your arm around your landlord and say, not to worry, I've got you. And not to underplay that convenience factor that a landlord now requires from us. We're not transactional. We're a convenience. We're an expert, and we'll be there to tell them that we've got them in this. And I wouldn't underplay that when the government comes and changes these for good or for bad, the opportunity for us to show that we're still that person who, just like before, has got them covered, that is worth its weight to get out and communicate that to our landlords, to our buyers, to our vendors, whoever it is that we're dealing with.
I think that's a great summary, really, because what you're saying there is use tech, AI, whatever, to get all the small, mundane, systemized, processable tasks done, and then get back to basics, which is people by people. We've got to be that people person. We've got to be that service provider. We've got to be looking after their best interests. We've got to be looking at the next challenges and opportunities and serving them. All absolutely great stuff there. David, for you, anything to add?
No, I would echo exactly what Neil's just said. Yeah, basically just use tech to have that more human interaction and do what we're good at. And I think, as we all know, 82% of landlords don't use letting agents to manage their tenancy. Got a lot of changes coming up in the next year. There's a lot of landlords that are going to need us, and we can't automate that, all of that. So I think, automate what we can, outsource, use tech, etc., so we can be there to do what we do best.
Time for us to step up, isn't it?
Yeah.
Neil, if people want to get in touch with you, how could they get in contact with you? What's the best way?
So best way is email for myself, ncobbold@repeat.com. Please, if there's anything to do with our products or just questions, or I live and breathe the Renters' Rights Bill at the moment, for good and bad. I was down at the committee hearing this week, listening to very little to change. If all honesty, they've got such a majority, and have put quite a lot of time into this bill while in opposition. I don't think we'll see a lot of changes. But if anybody's got any questions about what it means for them, I've had a lot of people knee-jerk reaction in. They stay calm. The things that they're bringing in, they will all be opportunities for us within the business. We just need to make sure we understand them and apply them correctly. So any questions, please reach out.
Now, Neil, you're going to be on the panel with us at Agent Maker Live in 2 weeks' time, and we're on the Renters' Rights Bill panel. So I'm really glad that you're really heads up on this. We've got yourself, David Cox, Ian McKenzie, Sophie Lang, Dawn Bennett, and myself are going to be on that panel, and we're going to be discussing all the things that are coming and looming around that. And David Cox is giving us a 45-minute presentation. Well, we say it's 45 minutes. We'll see how long David Cox is on stage for. He's giving us a 45-minute presentation about the topic as well. So we're going to be all over that over the 2 days, which is fantastic. Because as you say, there's going to be challenges, but there's also going to be opportunities there as well. And you're going to be there as well with a Repit stand. Is that correct? You're going to be there
Correct.
too?
Yes, we'll be there with our Repit hat on, talking about the Repit family of products is what it is now. I know I still have Payprop. I need to get that off my thing. That we're Repit. Payprop is still a product. It's still a brand. It's still part of what we offer. But the Repit family, everything under one roof, is about helping people on that complete journey. Again, with our platform, we're enhancing our app marketplace to make sure that all of those things that you need to use to automate, we make sure they're available within our platform.
Fantastic. I don't think we could have arranged Agent Maker Live to be at a better timing. With all this renters' rights and everything else, it's absolute perfect time to come and find new suppliers, come and talk to a room of a few hundred agents that are all got the same challenges, listen to the experts and really get, in tune as to what's actually coming. Because a lot of people are very scared. David, do you feel scared, or are you actually quite excited by the opportunity, or how do you feel about all this?
I was asked this in a room earlier this week with a load of other letting agents. Are we excited or scared of the Renters' Rights Bill? I mean, saying excited might be the wrong thing to say, but I echo, this is a massive opportunity for us as a sector. Don't be scared. We need to embrace this. This is a massive opportunity.
Really interesting, guys. I will see you both.
Absolutely.
I will see you both in 2 weeks at Agent Maker Live. If you haven't got your ticket now, go and get one. AgentRainmaker.live, 2-for-1 tickets available. It is the event of the year where we focus on opportunities, how to grow your business, how to scale, lead generation, and find new suppliers. It really is the event of all year. So thank you. Thank you so much, both of you, for coming and joining us. Tech, what a fantastic topic. I think we probably could have spoke for another couple of hours, to be fair, but people would be bored and they'd want their tea. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
It's been amazing to see you both. See you soon.